Hello, my friends. Thank you for taking the time today to tune into my channel and watch this little flip through video with me. I appreciate your support and encouragement so very much. This is a design team project for Jaizella Clark at Lavish Laces, and her shop is found on Etsy if you're at all interested in some of her findings. She's of course got lots of laces, trims, ledger papers, ephemera, postcards, photos, old photos. Just have a look at what she's got, and I'm sure you'll find something that you just have to have. So what this journal is, I'm calling it a lace sample book. It's more of a lookbook, if you want to call it that. It just features a whole bunch of laces, and I've been inspired to work with fabric and laces the last few weeks as I'm getting some prototypes ready to take to the boho Southern Magnolia retreat in Greensboro, North Carolina in May 2025. Some of the bundles that I will have available have lace and such in them, vintage and antique. So I did use some of those items in here, but one thing just led to the other, and I thought instead of doing a regular paper journal with a fabric cover, I'm just going to use all fabric and see where it goes. So this is what I've come up with. It is about 8.5 by, it's a little wider than normal, about 12.5, and then the spine is quite rounded. So it's kind of standard size, but because there's no signatures in it per se, it's just got fabric pages with lace. It tends to lay a little bit flatter and look more full. This tie is some beautiful, oh no, is it organza or chiffon? I think it's organza. I purchased this by the yard in a couple of colors, and it frays a lot. So when that happens, just snip it, don't pull them. I left the cover wrap piece loose because it was going to be too difficult to try and sew through the sequins and the pearls on top of all the other lace-filled pages. So this comes off completely, and it's 2 pieces of Jaizella's lace that she sent to me. This one, and then I just backed it with some of her flat lace. Beautiful. I've done the button spine. Extremely difficult to sew onto this many layers of fabric and lace. It's 9 pages, so it's a lot more thick than I have made my fabric journals in the past, so a little bit painstaking to sew it together. This piece was actually my inspiration. It was a long runner, and I thought, oh, that would just make such a beautiful journal page. So I cut off the piece, folded it in half, and then I realized it wowed, like it was kind of arched, and it became very difficult to work with, and it was crooked. The spine, the center seam wasn't straight. So I just tried to make the best of it. And you know what? That's the way a lot of our vintage and antique linens come, is they may be warped, they may be ripped, they may be stained, torn, you name it, but they are still absolutely beautiful. And then what I did was I just edged it with this beautiful crocheted cotton lace from Jaizella. These, by the way, are vintage crystal buttons, and they're quite large. They're about 1 inch diameter. So this is the first page. And I'm going to try and make sure I'm a little bit more in the center. And then a little short flap page. This is just a dinner napkin linen that I have cut in half. I really love this sort of taupe colored scalloped edge. Some of Jaizella's beautiful lace at the top. And then on the inside of this little flap, I've got a piece of ephemera that I have made from our lace boards that we created, and then just cut it, put some gold and silver flaking in there, and it just tucks into the side right over here. Also, not much room for ephemera in this little fabric journal at all. So there's not, you're going to see not very many pieces, but that's okay too. This is, I think, my favorite page. I just layered the laces. These are all Jaizella's. The insert lace here, but the antique velvet I got elsewhere. I don't know where I got it. It was just in my stash. This is one of her laces. Absolutely gorgeous. It's antique as well. You may have seen me use it before. I've got one little piece left for another project. And then it just straddles the side of the page. And I felt that the stitching was neat enough. I didn't need to cover it up. I am by no means a perfect seamstress. And, you know, you might see some little things where you think, oopsie. Well, that happens, and that's okay too. But it is extremely difficult to sew through this many layers of lace and fabric. This is a piece of Jaizella's lace, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So it's just a beautiful veiled page. This is the first or second piece of ephemera. I just made some booklets, and what I used inside this one is some of her gorgeous antique ledger, and I find it so difficult to cut them off. I don't know about you, but I just find it so difficult. So these are pockets where we can put more ephemera, other pieces as you go along in the book. These are all her laces, absolutely gorgeous. Again, I've just sewn them on by machine into place. I love metallic trims. She's amazing. I'm just so thankful when I receive them. This beautiful little piece is just so gorgeous. I don't think it's tatted. I think it's crocheted, but it's just so very elegant. I love it, the way it drapes. This is a lace swatch card that I've made. Made it a while ago, and I just have a few on hand that I tuck in every here and there, now and then. Antique and vintage laces, love them. And then I just tie it with a double bow, and this is some chiffon, silk chiffon. So I've just laid the pieces into this journal because I tried clipping them and attaching them to the pages, and it just didn't work. So this is the way it's going to be. What I did with most of the pages was put a layer of fusible webbing in between, because it was padded and it was thin, so it would be stiff enough to support the linen or the lace, but it would also be a little bit flexible. And I absolutely loved this, you know, the crocheted edge, so I wanted to keep that. Sweet little dangle here on the side. If you can see that, these are gorgeous antique laces. Absolutely beautiful. I do love the just the veiled pages. So on this side, I've attached this panel as a little pocket or a tuck spot. These are some of Jaizella's gorgeous antique French postcards. Aren't they amazing? And they're written on the back and date stamped. And then just a journaling card, antique book page. This is from Susie. I absolutely love it. So that just gets tucked back on this side. And then this piece is from a giant, I think it was a coverlet, an antique piece that I cut up into pieces, and some of the pieces are included in my antique and vintage lace bundles that will be available at the retreat. More of Jaizella's lace, and what I did here was tea dye this one. Love it. And then I made these envelopes. We had this as a make and take from the Carlsbad retreat that I just used different laces. Of course, these are all Jaizella's. Gorgeous insert lace that I've just put some sort of mushroom colored crinkled seam binding. This lace I am in love with. It's like a grayish taupe. So beautiful. And then on this side, we've got a couple of layers of her lace. And then this was a corded lace applique that I had. That's not from her supply. And then I added parchment paper on the inside to just give it a bit of crinkle. Love that sound. And This lace also is from, it's antique, but it's not from Lavish Laces. She has photos, some more postcards, antique postcards, and then just a little journaling card. I didn't really use any digitals in this entire project. There's one page in one of the booklets that I'll point out when we come to it. But other than that, it's kind of just more neutrals. Cream, ivory, white, a little bit of black and gray. And I didn't put anything two-dimensional on there because I knew it was going to go inside a little pocket or tuck spot in this journal. And then this is just a white vintage cotton from a tablecloth. It had, I think, Battenberg lace all around the edge, so I cut that off. And then I've got all this yardage that I can use up in the future, and it's perfect for doing a fabric journal. This piece is stunning, and I hand-stitched it in place. I didn't use any glue on this one. Just absolutely gorgeous. And this is the center of the signature. Got this beautiful, it's not really Battenberg lace, but it's cotton, and it's absolutely stunning. I just love it so much. These are antique. These appliques I've had for a long time. I got a whole roll of it and used it on so many different projects. Beautiful. I did try stitching it in place rather than using glue, but it just went all lumpy and wrinkly, and I had to pull the whole thing out, but it looks better flat. And all I used is the glitter glue to just dot it in place, and it's on there. It's not going anywhere. It's great. Oh, and then in the center, I decided to try this button technique that I've learned from Susie and from Michelle, Boho Crafty Chica. And this thread is amazing. I also realized I couldn't use waxed linen thread the way I do in all my other journals. It would have just been too gunky through all of these layers of lace. So I just added these little vintage buttons and then knotted them on there. And I just wanted to see how long the knots would stay secure, and they're actually holding very well. So I'm going to snip these off in a minute and leave it at that. I just love that look. It's so sweet. The other side, the flip side. Of course, you can add more ephemera to this journal if you want. You know, it's just, this is just showcasing what you can do with lace and fabric, which many of you know already. It's been a while. I think it's been about 3 years since I made a fabric journal, and I enjoyed the process again. It's just really ad hoc. I didn't have a plan for this one other than page by page. I just did it page by page. And then what I did before sewing in the actual signatures is I sewed 2 pages together. So I had a center seam for each of the page sections, and that made it so much easier to try and stay within the lines, because it is pretty difficult sometimes to sew the buttons in. Some more beautiful, beautiful laces, all from Jaizella's shop, except for the corded applique. But aren't those just so beautiful? And then the parchment paper inside. Another couple of photographs. These are of the beach, all of them. French, antique French postcard. And then just a journaling card. So that gets tucked into this side of the pocket, the lace pocket. Another veiled page with the lace. And then this one was also a large dinner napkin, linen. And I love this design in the corner, which was not even as well. It was a little bit sort of oblong, but I tried to make it work the best as possible and kept the scalloped crocheted lace on the edge. Here's a vintage piece of vintage earring that I've made into a dangle and just draped over the side of the page. So cute. And then on this side, we have a booklet. And I've added some beads to the side. These are all laces from Lavish Lace. I love the blue in the center. That's why I did the blue threads. And the blue beads, blue and white beads. I have discovered a new not a new. It's because I got it as vintage. But new to me type of embroidery floss. If you've never heard of the cotton pearl, it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's by DMC. You can still buy it, even though all the ones that I got were vintage. I got a bunch of colors and included them in some of the bundles that I've got going to the retreat. And what I love about this is it is one thread and it's just twisted. So none of that separating and getting all knotted up that you usually have with regular embroidery floss. So if you can get a hold of this, it is amazing. Cotton pearl. And I like the number 8 width because I can still feed it through a needle, but it's not too thick. This one is a 5, so it's a little thicker. I thought it'd be better for holding the booklets intact. And I've got some of Jaizella's beautiful ledger papers. These are from 1917. And then this gorgeous onion skin paper. It's amazing. Here's the one digital page that I had beside my work table. I copied it onto parchment paper. I believe it's from Ruby and Pearl, if you're interested. And that is a little mini journal for on the go. And she sits there. The other side of this beautiful, beautiful decorative piece. See the staining here? We can't help that, but at least I tried to put it face down so it wouldn't show up as much. Another piece of Jaizella's lace as a veiled page. I love these. The back side of the stitching for this very layered page. Love it. So, so beautiful. I hope you like it too. And then this side of the short flat page with the tuck spot is this sweet little letter. And the way it was put together was this. You know how they would just fold a piece of paper and make it into an envelope, which is truly remarkable. This is French, so I don't know what the date is, but I know, yeah, I can't make out what the actual post date would be because it's in French, but it's just so sweet. Definitely antique. And then it's handwritten in this incredible style of writing. That's an art in itself, isn't it? On this beautiful lightweight paper. So very, very pretty. 1800s. I can't read that very last. 1879 maybe, but oh, so beautiful. This is a real treasure. Absolutely love it. So that just gets tucked back into this little pocket spot here. And it's okay if they stick out of the edge a little bit because you don't want it too tight in the spine or it'll get bent. Back side of this little page, another booklet featuring Jaizella's gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful vintage laces. And I've used pink beads to decorate the page. This is antique French rag paper, theater, playbill, and some of the onion skin, and then another beautiful, beautiful ledger paper from her. So these are, I just tried to use something that was very different from what I normally do and not include my usual digitals and such. So it was very fun to do. And this took me about a week in between other projects. So I was very pleased with the outcome. And I hope that you like it too. And again, these laces can all be found on Etsy from Lavish Laces. I usually have her business card right here beside me, but again, I don't. And it will be available if you're at all interested in putting dibs on it. Message me or email me, and we'll go from there. I do want to take it to North Carolina, and the retreat is 4 weeks from today. So we can connect online if you're at all interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care.